Streaming, stream, my beauty. Yes. Brian. Hi. Hi. I'm really hoping this is all showing up correctly and that everyone actually can see this. Having sort of started and restarted and restarted and restarted many times because my web connection has gone completely crazy, which sucks. But you're here. Hi, Stan. Let me put on my thing so you can actually see my grid. Hi. Hi. Yes, apologies. This has been a somewhat stressful experience. I really hope you are all able to see this. Seeing this is an integral part of me being able to communicate to you. And hopefully it sounds alright. But mainly I hope it just works. Good. When you're saying static, Brian, are you referring to sound or vision? Because that is potentially a concern. I think there's a bit of lag. I think this is kind of only half seeming to work. Yes. Yes. Anyway, that's very stressful when it doesn't work. But I hope you can hear me. Hope you're well. Hello, friends, Romans, and country people. I'm here to chat and basically hang out and talk about what's new, what's going on. I will think it's a bit delayed, but I will attempt to answer questions. If you have them, please ask questions, and I will respond. Yeah, I think there's kind of like a weird... I'll turn up the volume a bit. Yeah, the sound quality thing. When I was doing some tests to start with, yeah, that's annoying. Let me... Yeah. Yeah, I can kind of hear what you're talking about. But I'm not sure how to fix it, unfortunately. So apologies. If you can bear with this, I hope you can bear with it. Deal with it. And yeah, so basically, what have we got? Obviously, ask questions if you have any. I have no sort of crazy great agenda for the stream as such, other than obviously I've got like the latest iteration of my live system, and I'm going to have like a video. In fact, I went to this thing recently in Switzerland, which was like a sort of synth day, or synth weekend actually, a kind of workshop and sort of hangout. And when I was at that, I did a sort of an hour and a bit presentation about this system. But in fairness, in that video, I'm talking kind of generally and vibey about, you know, the thoughts about playing live and all the sort of stuff that I've been thinking about on the podcast. And there's not too much like nitty gritty about the case. So if you're actually kind of a bit more interested in like the nitty gritty, I'll move this closer just so I'm a bit louder. Then I will, this is a good opportunity to do it. Let's talk nitty and gritty in order to understand things better. I wonder, part of what I'm wondering is it could be the like proximity of the GoPro to the mic. My NTR, I use a Rode NTR microphone, which is amazing, but it's like somewhat sensitive, so it could be that. Anyway, I'm looking at questions. Stan, have you thought about making a video about making drum sounds without drum modules? That's a really good suggestion, actually. I should write that down. I haven't got a pen. But yeah, like, I have actually, and that is a good thought, like how to make certain drum sounds. I could also mercilessly copy some of the stuff that's online, because if you are interested in, like, for example, go on Sound on Sound, they've got the whole like synth secrets thing, which was Gordon Reed's like big long series in like early 2000s. And there's some amazing stuff in there about drum program, particularly programming hats using like square waves, FMing square waves to make like cymbal sounds. I always really liked the sounds of the cymbals that it made. And actually, weirdly, it was like almost exactly the sound of cymbals that were in the Yamaha I haven't got it. It's not here. The Yamaha VSS 200. If you ever played with one of those, clearly that's how the cymbals were made. And anyway, the Synth Secrets guide for Sound on Sound is amazing. Like, it's just full of knowledge. Drum sound making. But that's a really good, like, sort of generalistic, like, subject. So I totally, I'm totally down with that. Oh, that's interesting. Vic, you're saying that you get like channel 6 on the... This is channel 6. We're getting some bleed through here because it's currently... 4, 5, 7, 6, 4... Radio 1. Music. Steve Porcaro making brass patches, Stan. Is that a Sound on Sound thing? Brass patches. That's a very like Gordon Reed thing. Man loves he loves like the classic stuff, and actually just synthesis in general. It'd be nice to do something about like, you know, synthesizing flute, synthesizing like real instruments. There's kind of, I mean, I know it's obviously not what synths are good at. I mean, it's not what I use synths to do, but I really like, in fairness, like some of them, there's some amazing patches like on the DX7, which I used that on the Keystep video. I really love the string sounds. That's interesting. Yeah, so what you've had some problems with, this is Vic Smith saying it has 2 Biffaco mixers that can be problematic. I did have some weirdness with this Biffaco mixer when I was in Switzerland, but it was I think due to the fact that this case, and I'll talk about this in a sec, but it's basically I powered the case using obviously its own power supply, but it wasn't grounded. So like I was using a like a regional plug, you know, British conversion to like European mainland, and there's only 2 pins on the converter, and there's obviously 3 on a British plug. And so, hi Joshua, by the way. My case wasn't grounded, and it was really weird. I need to do more tests, but I was finding like certain odd things with modules, like just output being weird, things being odd. And mainly like the hex mix being odd as well. Like, for example, I wasn't getting any sends on one of the sends, even though it was set up correctly. And then it would come back, or like one of the outputs went quiet. And that was, it was due to like non-grounding. So, you know, when your case, and you can feel it sometimes, like when the case is sort of, yeah, you get that with an iPad. You can like stroke the back of it and it like tingles. I had that with the case. It was really awkward. It was like very odd. So I highly recommend, if you travel with one of these things, make sure you ground the thing. Hi Joshua, it says you haven't been around much lately. We still love you. I love you too. I haven't been around a lot lately. It's been a slightly insane time, and actually I will mention, like, I don't think I've mentioned this on Patreon, but I'm relocating in the United Kingdom. So I live in London currently, and I have lived in London for like 10 years. But I'm moving back to Yorkshire, where I'm from. So that has been an insanity. Like, where I am right now is in my little studio room, but there's basically nothing in here. You can hear it's a bit echoey. And I've got like my sort of bare sort of core synth amount, my kind of most essential things in like my live case, so I can do stuff like this. And I've been doing some recording, but yeah, like moving up north, and so half of it's gone. By the end of October I will be back up north, so I will be in a completely different location. I'll be doing all the same stuff. I'll just be doing it from Yorkshire. So quite funny to think there will be potentially me and DivKid living within perhaps even like 25 minutes of each other. So that's like the northern modular powerhouse, you know, represent. So Brian Brill asks, how have I been getting on with the Cirklon? And the answer is pretty good. I will talk. Why don't we talk a bit about this, because this ridiculous object deserves conversation. And I actually have it set up so we could even sort of mess around with it. And it's like, how do I sum it up? Also, Dave is asking if I can tell you anything about a secret mission with DivKid and BowBeats. I wasn't involved with the secret mission. I'm not in the loop, so I have absolutely no idea. And very quickly, MCR Modular, is that Manchester Modular? You mentioned I was going to do a video on sample and hold usage. Is that planned? Yes, it is. Since I did all the work to actually like prepare the video, and it would have been a really nice like sort of technical thing to talk about with lots of like things that we can all apply. Yes is the answer, but I'm going to just use the disting, I think. Things have been insane with the move, so I've not been able to repair that. I really wanted to use the Dutful one because we can also talk about track and hold. Anyway, this thing, the Cirklon, I don't want to, like, there's no point in me trying to do a demo of this because I quite honestly don't really understand it that well yet. But I'm getting a good kind of feel for it, like, overall. The thing I would say, like, how to sum it up is that the experience has been quite frustrating. Like, it's not a fun device to get to know. And I think that is, it's like, unfortunately, there's just very little tutorial material online. There's a few sort of videos. There's one that Colin did like 7 or 8 years ago even. Yeah, it's not helped because there's lots of things like the firmware for this is constantly developing and changing. And so, you know, there's stuff that it can do that other people will be using like the beta firmware to do, and you don't even know about. It's not even really explained in the manual. It's quite idiosyncratic. Obviously, you know, it's got different ways, and it's got various ways of doing things which the dude Colin has developed and has been adding to. But I have to say, it's like quite logical when you get going with it. Like, that makes sense. And I actually, you know, it's not complex, really. The complexity, I think, comes from just, you know, the way you apply certain things. And it's just like half of it's just understanding his terminology for stuff and like, what is that? And like, it's not really well explained in the manual, which is wonderful. There's like I've got like a little booklet, which is all printed out and stuff. Yeah, but the principles that you've got, like, also it's quite hard to work with polyphonic material. It's got lots of idiosyncrasies, like really boring shit, like when you create a track of like a drum track, you have to go through and sort of enable every lane that you want to be able to edit, i.e. if it's a drum synth, you have to put like bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat, bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat, and not keep building this stuff up. And if you create a new pattern, you have to go through and sort of like call them up again. I think the technique is that you should just save a blank preset, or like save the blank thing and then edit the blank. This shit is really boring and it won't make sense to you unless you've got one of these. But suffice to say, there is like frustrating shit that I've like been trying to work out. And in answer to your question, Joshua, did I borrow this or did I manage to get one? This is mine. I bought this. The reason I was able to like jump the queue, I didn't jump the queue because I don't give a shit. So you just have to wait like everyone else. A really, really nice person contacted me. They basically had their number come up and was like, I'm not going to buy it. You didn't really say why. Just either can't afford it, don't want it. But his number came up and he gave me his place in the queue. So I bought it. So thank you very much. I'm technically still in the queue, so I'll give my place to someone else. But yeah, like it's quite fun and it's very immediate. And what's really awesome about the Cirklon is that you really can unify everything. To answer MCR Modulars' question, why did I buy it? You know, you've seen me use a lot of modular stuff, but I've got fucking tons of like MIDI hardware. I've got loads of things like outboard synths. I've got like a Jupiter 6, a Juno 60, a DX7, a JV1080, a JP08, an Odyssey. Did I say a DX7? A TX7 as well. I've now got an E4XT sampler and an Akai S3000. Plus I've got loads of modular. Plus I've got a computer that I really like. So I've got all of this stuff that's like ready to be sequenced. And what I've come to learn is sort of like truth, which is that if you're like me, when I make music on a computer, I much prefer using soft synths, quite honestly, and samples, and just kind of, because they can be called up really quickly, instantiated really quickly, and you just make music. What I don't like doing is if I then have to like think, oh right, I want to just like let's use the JV1080. I've got it here. Well, I've got to set up the JV1080. I've got to like, you know, get all of the sort of choose the patches I want, set up all the MIDI channels, and like by the time I've started to do that, I'm like, do you know what? I'd have been way better off just using like an operator preset and just getting something down. And so it's kind of that like. That philosophy. Suddenly when I start to evolve the hardware, I'm doing it in an inefficient way. And maybe I should like create templates, because that could be something I can do, just like create good templates so that you really, you know, you're just kind of working from those and you're a bit faster. Obviously with Ableton Live, you can have external instruments and I probably should be doing that. But the reality is I'm just kind of myopic. It's actually funny what that, in the Colin Bender's podcast, what he was talking about, where he's like, you know, like when I see the modular, it's just got to all be in my vision. I've got to see it all in one view. I'm like, and if it's outside that view, I'm not going to pay attention to it. And I totally understand what he means. I just want to focus on one thing. And so the Cirklon's good because you can just focus on this one device, but it can talk to everything. And it's clever, like, there's some sweet stuff. So for example, when you start off, you have a track and then you come down here and you've got a list of instruments. And then one of my instruments is the 808, which is the System 80, 880, which is over here in a case, which I will try and sort of show you. I think you may be able to see this. So you could hit play, and then you go over to create a pattern. We need to create what's called a CK pattern, which is like a polyphonic pattern. There's two different types of pattern in this thing. A P3 pattern, which is like a monophonic sort of synth line, but it's got a particular interface. And then the CK pattern, and then you can come in here, add in things like drums. And this is not working. Excellent. What is working? Why you know working? Cool. Great. That is triggering a sound. Oh, because the bass drum's turned down. That's why. I'm really good at this. So you go like bass drum, and then you can add a snare drum, and then you can go close hi-hats. And then it's just a question of like, you know, moving through these things and just going like this. Like that. Building things up. One like instant, like really cool thing the Cirklon does, and I know you can't really see the screen, is that if I turn this little dial, this is showing, it says 16 here, so it's showing me the sort of grid of 16 things. I can zoom in. So now it's 64, so it's like zooming into the timeline, and then I can scroll left and right with this dial here. So you can instantly zoom in. What you don't need to do is change the time base like you do on other drum machines in order to access like a finer resolution of control. So it means that really easily I can zoom in and put in like a little run, like that. Which is kind of So you hear those like fast drills, like those are all over that new Aphex record. I'm like, he's done that because it's so fucking easy to do them on this thing. And then the other thing you can do is so easily on a Cirklon. This is fucking great, and this does not, it's not going to work on here because this does not have you know, steady velocity as such. But if you turn these dials, you can see that you adjust velocity for a particular hit. So you can be like, oh, gave you a sneak preview there, but basically you can turn a dial and adjust velocity. But what's sweet is if you push two buttons in, you get these little like ramp curves. Can you see this? Where it's like, you know, so you can do like a slow rise or a slow down, or you could do things like do them over a couple of, like this. Like that to me is just very smart. So you can suddenly create, what have I done? I lost it. Totally fucked it. Oh, there we are. So you can create like a little like ramps and curves really easily, like very clever. Again, like you're not going to hear it on here because that's one of the limitations. The System 80 doesn't have full like velocity, but very smart. And then you can do, yeah, you just have 64 tracks of this insanity. So you can just have loads of, oh, that's clever. I didn't know you could do that. This is the other problem with it. It's so like crying out for like a cheat sheet with just like all of the things that like explain like, you know, this, do this, this is how to do this, this is the shortcut for you. There's lots of things like if you hold shift and then value, then it does something really clever that you're like, oh my God, that's really useful. And I think it was put really well. There was someone who said, oh, you got a Cirklon. Well, cool. You'll hate it for about a year. Which is a brilliant thing to say. Like, you'll hate it for about a year. About a year, you'll really regret buying it, and then you'll reach like the kind of nirvana point when you're like, oh, that I totally am fluid. And I totally recognize that. My honest feeling right now is I've been getting some awesome stuff. I've been like jamming stuff with the band, and I've been coming up with ideas myself. Part of my frustration is I'm starting to sort of use my MIDI gear in a way that's a lot more advanced than I have before. And I quite honestly, it's like shit, like then you're having to go to the JV 1080 manual and be like, oh fuck, how do I do that so I can set this up properly so it responds properly? And that holds you up. So I've got a huge learning curve to like dig deeper into all of the machines that I've had, and also learn this fucking thing at the same time. So it's like two big things to learn at once. Because I've never used my MIDI gear in such an intense way. The other cool thing that this does, I can't really show you this with this, but For example, there is scale quantization, by the way, so you can force it to C and to a particular scale, you know, and thanks RDJ, there are user scales in here as well. When you connect a keyboard to it, and I've used the key step, you can use it as a recording device. Obviously, the keyboard becomes live. And I'm not volunteering to make the cheat sheet, by the way. Someone has actually done one on GitHub, but it's not complete. With the scales will live quantize, so you can live quantize what you're playing, a little bit like that mutable MIDI PAL or MIDI gal, which is really nice. What else? So for example, if I created this like a Jupiter 8, so this is set up to control my Jupiter 8. It's nice. The instrument namings, this is really boring, but I'll try and explain this really quickly. You don't tell it what MIDI out to use, you tell it what instrument to use, and you set up your instruments ahead of time. So my JP08 is set up on a particular MIDI channel with a particular set of functions, so that you can just, like, I want Jupiter 8, and you just go like that, and it will be using the MIDI out, which is great if it's all plugged in and kept that particular way. But obviously if you tear up your studio and use it with loads of things, as I've been doing, then you end up with this where I've got like 10 JV 1080 things. Anyway, really boring. The cool thing, which I now can't, there you go, this, which is these like track value doofers. So these are like control knobs, basically. So you can actually control MIDI CCs in your synths from the Cirklon. So the Cirklon is also able to like store MIDI settings. You can have pages of these so that you can say, I want the cutoff to be in this place on this scene. And then you can also automate that stuff using the curves that I was showing you before. So this sounds a bit like Portishead. But it's just very easy to do really fast like trills and rolls, because you can like go in. I've been doing a lot of like drum programming. This is something I've been working on, and it's just got, half of it will not be working, but it has got scenes here. And it's just, I'm finding like I am making much better drum patterns with this thing. Well, you'll be the judge of whether they're any good or not, but these little buttons here, I can use them to jump between the scenes as well. Yeah. It's very cool. Turn this up. And I've also bit of a sneak preview, not a sneak preview, but just to show you this, I've got the that. By the way, thank you so much, Craig Clifford, for this, if you're watching, Craig. This as well. So two different delays. This is the Time Safari, which was very kindly donated to me by Patreon and Super Dude Craig Clifford. But this also, this thing, which you may have seen, this is the Soma Lyra effects, which is basically the back end to the Lyra 8. So like the Lyra, you know, synth, mad Russian synth, basically. And so it is a wild motherfucker, is all I can say. Basically two delays that are intermodulated with distortion, and with like self-modulation, or you can use external voltage. So if I get them on here, I've got the hot glue. A bit like that. Digital, but just sounds lovely. I imagine this is going pretty well with the weird sound effects of like noise on the stream. Yeah. It's really good. And hello, Sunil. And yeah, I mean, yeah, the Cirklon is definitely a luxury. Well, I would say, like, you know, do you need one? The answer is, if you've got the best part of €2,000 and you've got loads of hardware, why not? I mean, I think it's interesting, the whole thing about price. You know, it's like, is it too much money? And I think, well, no, it's not. It's made by, you know, one dude and his wife. This is what it is. He charges what he considers a fair price. And, you know, the comparison to make is like that whole thing about the MacBook. It's like, if a MacBook is X amount of money, and Apple mass produced that in China, to a huge, like, frightening amount of those things. And yet this is like, you know, he's maybe making a few of these a week. It's just not the same. So is it too much money? I don't think it is, because it could be the most important thing in your entire studio, because it's literally, you know, it's the architect of all your music. And yeah, but it's great. I've been enjoying it. Yeah, using it live, I've so much to learn, and it's nice to go back to school, basically. To go back to school and actually learn something. You know, it's partly frustrating, but it's partly interesting or liberating, or what's the word? Just like a new way of doing things. And I am focused. Like, this interesting thing, when you load this up, there's a little song timer. Yeah, which basically says how long it's been playing for. And there was a moment, like, a while back where I was like, oh, fuck me. It's been going for like 5 straight hours. Like, I've just been like... yeah. There's other things you can do, like you can use these little dials to have like live control over your synths. You can record automation with them and stuff. And you can do, like, the really intense shit is where you get into like the auxes. I hate this. I never remember how to get there. To actually edit the aux. Basically, the auxes are like control lanes, and you can do things like control CCs, but you can also do like control the probability of notes, and you can do tons of weird generative stuff, like having it so that you have these accumulators where it adds a value to a value every time it plays around. So you get a note that would rise and rise and rise, but then come loop back round to another value. Or that they would do things like where a note will basically from one lane will be handed to another lane. Stuff like this. And then Vic Smith asks, how would this be for live composition? That is hard to say. I was using it with the band, basically. There's a picture I put up on Instagram. So like we had like not a practice, but like just a jamming session to come up with ideas for their new album. And I had the Cirklon, this case, and, you know, partly great and partly it's not really designed for that, I would say. It's really good at playing stuff back. So if you've got, you know, MIDI that you're happy with, it's super tight. It's very, like, well, relatively stable. I did manage to crash it. But I would say it's not maybe so awesome for just random live composition. It's not proved itself to be, you know, better than some other things, quite honestly. But I'm really new to it, so maybe I'm, you know, in all fairness, I've just not kind of, you know, spent enough time with it. But it's clever, like the scale quantization thing it can do. For example, I find myself wishing I could just like mute the like lanes of the drum, as in, so if I was programming the drums, you know, yeah. Nope. 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 Oh, that. It is that. if I was programming the drums, I wanted to like mute the kick, mute the snare, mute the hat, you know, as you went. I don't think I can do that unless there's like a shift thing. Anyway, it's really boring. But it is very powerful, and it is really tight, and it is really nice to be able to write a complete piece of music on something else. Although I'm still listening to the like Aphex EP and just being like, how on the spectrum, like he must be on the spectrum, because the dedication, the like concentration to work with this device, it's really good for certain things. You saw me messing around with like the sort of ramping system and stuff. Like the dedication and perseverance to like make a whole track using that's so complex and flowing. I guess he's got all day to work on this stuff, hasn't he? And he's spent years doing it, and you know, fair play. So let me know if there's anything else, but I might be able to get like if I go to this, can I get like some voices going? So if I go instrument, and I'll probably do this. This I think should. So we got this again. This whole thing. We'll turn down the other thing. Yeah, this. That is the shapeshifter and the fizzle guts. You'll know this whole thing, which was doing quite cool stuff the other night. Fizzle guts is nuts. The guts is nuts. Excuse me. Sorry. So you can see you can edit the thing, and it's forcing it to see Japanese too. Quite like to see. And then you'd be like, save the scene. Yep. And then create a new scene by adjusting the pattern. Okay, here and here. Like delete pattern. And then you just what I'm still like struggling to do is get control voltage out from the Cirklon. You see it's got like a its own little like control doofer, its own like Eurorack module that I bought for it to work and come out. And I'm still like not sure how you get the thing to output control voltage as well. But simple enough, and you sort of that scene 2. Then when you go to the scenes, you then like this. So yeah, that's how it works. You keep building it up, building it up, building it up, building it up. So Vic Smith says, yeah, this is why I'm fascinated by Colin writing music into the ER101 as it comes into his head. I'm not quick enough, can't see it in my head like that. Yeah, I can't either. There's that, they're saying there's like a moment, if it's in that Aphex interview with Tatsuya Takahashi, where he's talking about like Aphex says, I can write music just about as fast as I can think it now. And I think that like having something like the Cirklon, what it is amazing at is that it will let you do that. Like you genuinely, if you know, once you sort of become an absolute master of XOX grid programming, this is the like ultimate XOX grid programming interface, because it is just very fast. And there's also some really nice stuff, like for example, if you want to copy a bar like you just do this. Now you've got 2 bars, and I can go copy, and I could sort of copy from here to here, and I go insert here and here. So it's like, so you can sort of very quickly do these things, which would be a lot of pissing and dragging and mousing and stuff. And it's just the way that like an interface lead, you know, a particular interface like leads to a certain type of music. Someone was saying, they left a comment on one of my like clips that was like, Cirklon-y stuff always sounds like Cirklon-y stuff, and I'm sure that's true, you know, as in there is just a where's this? Hang on. You can also, that thing about grabbing knobs, you can do it with. Get the lyre on the go. Oh. God, that sounds terrible. It's music, but yeah, it is good. It's good. You can just very quickly kind of build stuff up, jam stuff out, save variants, and then like reorder things. I'm still learning, very much, and I am frustrated that there's not better materials. You know, there is a kind of, you know, with the nicest possible way, there's a bit of a kind of designer's sort of mentality thing going on where there's quite a lot of, you know, I think there's an assumption on behalf of Sequentics maybe that's just like, oh, there is a manual, everyone must be like happy to work this out by themselves, and they are. I feel like everyone's, you know, in their own little islands working out how that thing works, and there are some like Facebook groups and stuff, but it just needs really good videos. It needs like a really solid video thing. So yeah, we need more tutorials. I will make a video obviously about this whole thing, but I want to do I've had this for almost a year. Well, maybe not, it won't be a year, but maybe 6 months, and like this is where I'm at with it. Joshua says, random question, but did you see Mandy, the new Nick Cage movie? I asked because the soundtrack is something else. Johan Johansson's last score before he passed. Really fantastic. I haven't. But I will check that out. I've never listened to Johan Johansson's music, which is shameful and awful of me. But I don't think I have consciously. There's a lot of stuff I've not seen. A lot of modern stuff. Although he did do the Blade Runner sound, where he was doing the Blade Runner soundtrack, but then was fired. Yeah, weird and sad. Like, the dude did seem to do some really nice stuff. I will check it. Thank you. And so. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of different sequences. I see, like the talk. Actually, that yeah, the NerdSeek sequencer looks pretty intense, like as a clickety-clackety sort of do everything interface. And then the ER101, you know, I think it probably is quite a lot like the Cirklon, that those things are really super specific and interesting. I don't know, I've not so many like bloody modules, quite frankly. I'm like drowning in options, and I think anyway, I've been enjoying having just one thing to focus on for once. Photo Dries asks, will the stream be available after this is finished? Yes, I will archive this and post the link so that everyone can watch back. So yeah, if you need to head, obviously no probs, and you will be able to watch back. Did you say that you have got some Cirklon tutorials? Because please do send me links. Genuinely, I've not like been crazily investigating, as in I've like actively tried to seek out some for a time, and then I've like just been focusing on actually learning the machine. So yeah, if you do know a great one, let me know. So this is my live system. And as I say, I'm going to do, I've done a talk, which I'll release before the end of the month, about the system and basically what is involved and, you know, thoughts about it. But that was more generalistic. But I will talk about the sort of layout and flow of it here. So what you're looking at is that I've basically got a new case. I've got this like... why can I not think of the company? MDLR, thank you, Arjan. MDLR cases case, which is this, and it's interesting because this is a smaller case than I had before. I used to use two independent cases. And sorry, Stan is asking, didn't hear, but did you answer my circadian rhythms question? Were you asking, do I still use, or has the circadian rhythm? Sorry, you asked, has the Cirklon replaced the circadian rhythms in my case? No, it hasn't. I don't actually currently plan to use the Cirklon with the modular at the moment, but this is how decadent my like love of Eurorack is. I'm considering putting a Eurorack case together exclusively for the Cirklon. So it's like stuff that I Cirklonify and then let this be its own standalone instrument. So no, the circadian rhythms is a fucking awesome module. If you are just interested in like prescriptive, I want to put in this exact specific rhythm, you know, as you've seen Colin Benders uses it to like amazing effect. It's really immediate and fast and fun. So if you are looking for like a really straightforward but like potentially deep sequencer, you can really like something that's prescriptive in that you tell it what to do and you don't want something generative like the Trigger Riot, then it's awesome. And User Friendly asked, am I pleased with the hex mix aside from the power issue? Yes. Someone said when I went to the Switzerland thing, you know, you've got a really big mixer for such a small case. And I understand why someone would say that, but that is sort of, it highlights something which is maybe, but the reality is that the mixer becomes such an integral part of the system that I wouldn't want to be without it. You know, your ability to like bring things in and like create a mix and dubify things in and out is essential. It's like the whole point of a live performance. Half of it is kind of, it's mixing, it's just being able to have like a muscle memory thing so you know where everything is, that you can just orchestrate. It's like the orchestration nerve center, you know. And a mixer is a performance, it's a performance tool. Obviously with this mixer as well, you have pre-fade listen as well, which you would not have without a much grander mixer. In fact, there's no, yeah, and it's DJ tool basically, so that you can preview an element through the headphones. I don't like, again, as you heard in like the Colin Benders thingy, like I don't do that. You just kind of go live, but it's just a fucking awesome thing that it does, and the fact that it has the 3 stereo returns, so it's just great. It is the best Eurorack mixer as far as I'm concerned. You know, and I had some weird power issues. One thing I've noticed, and I don't know if it's me, I actually am a little bit worried that my ears are not equal, as in I've had lots of hearing problems, whether my ears are not even. But I tend to find like, if I put the pan setting exactly what is middle on the pan setting, then it's actually slightly to the side. So you end up having to do it by ear to get stuff dead center. In a way, I would love like a mono eyes on a particular channel just so it wasn't doing panning, but you just do a mono out maybe. But that's not, you know, it's not a deal breaker, and it's an analog device. It's not perfect, and there's, you know, as it were, but it's been fucking great. So any other questions? But I will just sort of talk through the case. If you're interested, just shout out stuff. So basically what this is like this was the cool thing, it's a more distilled version of my live system. So I was like, yeah, I don't have 2 cases, I've got 1 fat case. But I have got less space overall, so I had to make some sacrifices in terms of what was in there, but not much. It involved taking the circadian rhythm out purely due to the size of it. I really like the prescriptive aspect of circadian rhythms and just being able to say that I want this thing to happen there. And you could use lots of like S180s in place of circadian rhythms potentially. And the really good thing about using lots of independent modules like that is that you can run them at different rates. And I've definitely found, you know, by having stuff or various sequences running at different rates and phasing, it just gives you stuff for free. It gives you like, you have less to do. Yeah, Photo Dries, or is it Dries, says that the WMD performance mixer looks very interesting, not as much sends. Yeah, so Vic Smith says the WMD performance mixer has 2 sends, but you can only use one at once. For a channel, you have to like pick, you can't have a blend of like reverb and delay. It's this, I mean, like the Mutant Hot Glue has just 1 send, but I think that, like the Mutant Hot Glue is sort of intentionally trying to be a distilled like micro baby of a mixer. It's really, I really like that module actually. I've got it in this case. But yeah, that sucks. Whereas the Befeka gives you three aux sends and 3 stereo returns, so you're just laughing. MCR Modular says, I see stages, is it in place of maths? Yes, it is. And I'm currently running Stage in triple envelopes. So basically, I'll just explain quickly what the various things I have on my mixer are. Kick on 1, percussion as a group on 2, like that, and then plats on 3, through the Jove, always a nice time. And then a Dixie and the MDCO, which I'm actually Matthew said, please don't show people the MDCO because it's not finished, so it's not really fair, but it's really cool. So the MDCO is basically a like digital oscillator, wavetable-y, but with like some like weird, the ability to like pulse width modulate a bunch of the outputs, I think. Ooh, and then it's got like odd noises in it as well. It's got like a sub out. You can PWM basically any of the other, well, standard waveforms. It's like these ones here. Anyway, I don't want to sort of go too much into it because it is just a prototype, so sound may change. But I think it's just really cool, just to have a very small kind of wavetable-y thing that's got different, some standard tones, but just slightly odd stuff. So you've always got something to kind of go to that's a bit odd if you've been playing too much, like too many standard waveforms. And I basically have designed it so that that feeds into the SEM mixer, but then so does the Dixie. So it's the Dixie and the MDCO can be combined like this. That's really bassy, but that's sub. And then I think the square. So you can get like nice sort of 2 oscillator things. And when I was messing around with this, I was like, well, I've like tapped in the Dixie square, but I've got like all the other outputs available. Why don't I take like another output from the Dixie, run it through another filter, and then AD it separately? So that's what I did, and basically created this like orbitally sort of bass sound, which is the Z2040 here, and that's just the like saw output of the Dixie 2. So the same oscillator is here, mixed in with the MDCO, but on its own, I'm also just using the saw output going through the 2040. So it's like a kind of like when I've been messing around with this, it's like a really nice fundamental kind of subby, warm, bouncy bass that's just kind of available, and it's really bedding things out nicely, like, and without me wanting to like make it so I can give myself other waveforms that I can feed into this filter instead. Just let it be what it is. Let it be just like a warm bass line that I can like contrast with this. Obviously I've got 3 triple AD on the stages. And then, interestingly, the thing that's actually triggering the warm fuzzy bass is this abstract data event boss, which is basically like an event boss is like a sort of jamming pal, where like if you put gates into it, gate patterns, it will basically like create variants using different algorithms. So it's got like a different, like 6 different kind of algorithms, and you can't really see it very clearly, I don't think, but in here 6 different algorithms basically, which I can choose, and then by using an external voltage, and I'm actually using another abstract data module, it's the mix utility ADE50, which you can set up to just output like DC voltages, plus and minus, and like 0 to 5, or like plus and minus 0 to 5, or 0 to 10 volts, blah blah blah. But it's just creating a DC offset, allowing me to change the value, and the value is like on this particular album, like algorithm, like amount of sort of hits, just like grids, basically. It's a really cool module. There's tons of different algorithms, and I was kind of playing around, just like this particular one, which is like, you know, it's receiving just a steady stream. I'd have to trace it back. I can't remember even now where I actually like fed that from. But whatever the case, you can just kind of turn this dial. So it's giving you just like a one knob. I don't get to choose what the rhythm is, but I can choose how much or a little it is. As user-friendly music says, as someone else did at the thing in Switzerland, I can't believe that Rainmaker is so good that you allow that much space for it. No need to comment on this, just saying, well, I am going to comment on it. It's just, Rainmaker's fucking great. Yeah, it's huge, as they say in the north, but the hugeness is also to do with its sound, and also the fact it's got presets as well. So, you know, it just like gives you so much. I mean, that's exciting. Let me show you with this. I was playing before, I was trying to get this all working with tap. I want this, edit tap. Why can't I find the bit where you edit the pitch? Oh, I'm being a dumbass, mate. It's just that, it's nice. Pads out like the sound spectrum, and then it's giving you the pitch stuff. Like I actually have got an Echophone, but I've lent it to Phil in the early years. I will experiment with having the Echophone in, but just the pitched bass stuff for me, like when you can just play in like one note and get like some call and responses, like long slappy blacky sort of like long, you know, beauty slaps, which have got like pitch information in them. I just love that. It's here. Why is this not? Oh, there we go. All right. So, for example, if I and then I can pan it. know it's going a bit mad, but I hope you get the idea. Like it because of how much it does, basically, because it pads stuff out so much. I really like it, and I'm happy to. I can, you know, hey, maybe one day it will be necessary. Also, the other thing that I was doing relatively recently, which was cool with this, which I've never done before, is full this. Which is, I think we go in here, that. This is going to be a bit weird. Randomize. So it should randomize all values. It took me a while to get this working properly before. Go on. Randomize everything. What you have to do, I think you have to sort of go over to the randomize and then put all, yeah, this, all. Now, why are you not hear it? Why are you not hearing, why are we not hearing it? Want to be hearing it. Oh, it freezes on. Man, this is probably really exciting for you. Oh my god, why is that not working? Come on, I don't want freeze to randomize. Well, this is the fun of live, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, what else? No marbles, someone comments. That's correct. In fact, no randomness beyond obviously me attempting to get Rainmaker to go random. And that is a really good point. I think this is just really quiet. Come on, why is it not? Yeah, I've got like that triple sloth module which I've used for like creating randomness in the case, and I've just not got enough space to have it in here, otherwise I'd be having it in. I would like something that will constantly be like sort of modulating parameters by a small amount, and I don't currently have that. I really like the marbles. Obviously it's an amazing module, but it just isn't really the right thing, I don't think, for this case, in terms of I don't really need the like random gates. I need like more random voltages, more like the sloth, where I've just got something that is just able to does anyone remember, how do you, on trigger mode, how do I get to freeze? I struggle. That's the sort of thing about the Rainmaker. It is a tough beast, and I forget stuff if I haven't played with it for a while. It's not too bad. It's just kind of remembering sort of like, oh, you have to do that. It's like the Cirklon, basically. How do we do it? For you, random. Oh, globbits. Well, that's disappointing. Anyway, when you get everything going, and by the way, I've also got like some weird bloody sound. It's really fun, and it's become like half of it's just working out, yeah, what the system's good at, what I've like designed, how best to use it. And I think like with this particular iteration, something that I've become conscious of is to do like as little as possible. Just let it groove and try and just like stay within that lane of like danceability and coolness, and don't try and be like, no, this has to happen, no, this has to happen, no, that has to happen, because you just can't fucking do it. And just like settle in like Stevio, settle into like just a sort of a vibe. And that's the function of like sort of just reminding yourself that obviously that's what dance music is for, is just like, is establishing a solid groove that everyone can like groove to, and not like, don't try and reinvent the wheel every like 16 bars, because you can't. It's especially. I would definitely like something to be slowly modulating the Joe for me though. And I would like, you know, with the drums, I've set up grids so that I've got some hats here. And I've got branches, which is my old trick. And then one thing I was experimenting with was using sequential switch, stereo style, to control some additional percussion, which is what I have here. And basically, this middle channel of grids is being run through the sequential switch out to various things. Which is like, one of them is this chip top 1, the other is the maraca, and the other is the Akemi's taiko. Those are the three things that can be sent to via a sequential switch. And the sequential switch's rate is controlled by a clockworks here, this Ladic module that makes me let this go slow and fast. And Stan says, thoughts on why dance music is such a minority of modular music? Well, no, I suppose you're right. I guess just because, well, I don't know, you know, people have different reasons, different types of electronic music that they're interested in. I would say, because I don't think it's necessarily hard to do, I suppose is the point, so. But it has taken me this long to like try and get like a good thing going. But it is hard to do. And just finding like the parameters where you've got like, you've designed a system that's sort of a bit foolproof. I'm still not there. Oh. So it's just having like these three little things. One of the things I sort of identified was, I'm going to mention Stevio again, funny that, I like the person who was like, drinking game, drink every time Mila mentions Stevio, was the, he's just got a lot of, everything's really like bedded, so they all kind of blend. And I really like that. I thought, I was like, yeah, that's what you keep it low embedded. And actually one thing was, I've got this Orgasmatron, which I've put in so that I can like bed the percussion as well. So I can keep it muffled and low. I mean, I have got the EQ on the hex mix, but you know, if I try and turn it down, that's as much as you can. It doesn't like high pass, it doesn't low pass it. But it's just this idea of having things low embedded. It's not perfect, but Vic Smith says there are a lot of elements to keep under control for two hands. There is, yeah, seriously, like, and that's kind of what I mean about like, it was really interesting. Someone said it at the Swiss thing. They were like, "Oh, I've never been to a modular synth event, and I've never sort of hung out with someone else like using a system." And it's interesting to see the kinds of things you do and how fast you move your hands, like, and the things you go to. I was like, that's an interesting point, like, because I have literally said to myself, move slowly. Don't, because if you get too like all like DJ jumpy, then you just fucking, you'll end up like knocking a parameter that's not the thing you. And then of course I've got this. Make that sequence longer. This controls the plats. Jeremy asks, I notice you don't patch much. Cables stay where they are. Do you ever find yourself repatching or just like leave it? It works. Yeah, like responding to Vic's comment above yours, there are a lot of things for just two hands. So it's like, yeah, the idea here is patch it in a performance-y way and just mess with that patch. Like, you know, there's plenty. Like, effectively, I've built myself like an electron box. It's just that, and so the like thing is just how do I control it? Like, I just find it like making fast enough changes it's hard. Kind of why I like the 4/4 beat, though it's like, you know, old hat, you know, it works. And also you just celebrate just having a straight 4/4. You're kind of freer to think about other things other than like percussion. Like you can just think about melodies and structure and just kind of, so it's like bringing in all this extra percussion is like almost another layer of difficulty over what is already quite a difficult thing. Yeah, Stevie O doesn't repatch live either. It's hard enough. I really love this kick, which is like, this is it's just a sample. It's like sort of DMX-y or whatever, but it's just so cheeky. Nope, sorry. And then the other thing that I've not even talked about is radio music. Still struggling to like control the percussion enough. Be like, I want that to happen, and I want that to happen. Part of me is like, just like, should I just set up like preset rhythms? Like I was thinking it would be really, let me know if you know one, like just honestly a module with preset rhythms, so you can just be like, here's like 10 rhythm patterns, and I just push a button to recall them instantly. Like I mean, I know circadian rhythms can do that, but it's big. I'm like literally something that's like that big, that you can just pre-program everything, you know, even if it was in a really awkward way, but like just jammed in. Do you know what I mean? As in like you just push that, you get that rhythm, push that, then you get that rhythm. Because the nature of like dance music, there's only about like, you know, it's like 10 patterns that you actually use. And so what would be more useful is to have just instant recall of them. Yeah. Brian asks, thoughts on planar 2? Yeah, that looks really tits. Especially because you can record the motion, so you could just create your own little jammy things. And I'm really interested in a Tetra pad. Same sort of idea. Imagine using it on here, using it for octave shifts or something like that. You could do that on planar 2. Is that, Vic, is that a sort of a sequence module? Because I would be interested in that. It's a good room. Give myself a volume control for the taiko. Yeah. Now I'm like, do less stuff. Make it more sparse because it's been gone a bit busy. Using the mutes here to like try get a sparser pattern. How fast can I program a Rainmaker? Not very. So what's this? There's a Erica Synth module that you program with like an iPhone and save patterns. There's some dude who used two with the Confono Funkitis. He passed away, his videos were taken down. Fuck. That sounds good though. User-friendly, user-friendly music says, I thought Colin Bender's comments on why using such a complicated system is worth it for live are really great. Have you thought any more about them? Seems like something you constantly question. Yeah. I mean, like, you know, he was talking about the fact that, yeah, that using creating music live in real time is worth it because of the experience that you have. It makes you happier. It means your audience are like more into it. And I have thought about it. It's like, and it's not so much about redesigning the system, but just like how you conduct yourself when you're on stage, like what you do. And it's hard in a way because I think with the modular, it requires so much fucking concentration that like half the time you're kind of like, you're focused on what are you doing, like make this happen, what's happening here, that's got to happen, that now that's happening, So it's very easy to sort of get focused on the system and sort of forget that you're being watched and you're on stage and you have like a role to play. And it's hard, like, and he's a dude and he really you know, he really allows himself to like rock out and like savor it, get into it, jam hard and like dance and like shake his head, and that, and his music's that kind of music as well. It's like very, very like hands in the air grooves, and it suits it. The audience obviously respond to it. So yeah, I have thought about it. I'm just maybe I need to practice my moves. I need to have some like do some like stage diving. Don't do stage diving. That would be a bad. Yeah. I think there's like a constant rainmaker sound going on. Oh no, it's the radio music.
Here we have.
So that's being triggered off here.
Of zeros and jobs, the here we are.
A rebuke to religions from Galileo. A rebuke to religions from Galileo and the church, and Galileo having been proven to be somewhat smarter than the church all the way on down. Yet there are still those in science who say the exquisite nature
Manic Star Seedas, has maths gone in favour of stages? Yes. Well, it hasn't gone. I would not get rid of the maths, but for this case, yeah, stages is small and it offers 3 envelopes, which is like totally sweet. Yeah. So it's just stages is proved to be an absolutely excellent envelope, and I'm underusing it to like, you know, use it for that. I realise, but it is. Well, maybe I could get like 3 sort of 2 HP modules, but I've already got this for financial reasons. I'm like, can't just sort of just keep adding stuff necessarily. But it would be better in the stages. The 2 HP module would do it in a smaller space.
If you take a look at Darwin, you see a case where it was so tempting to say, I find a watch. It requires a watchmaker. Watches do not spontaneously self-assemble. And now I find an acorn.
But yeah, I think the whole point of this is just your own experience, your own ability to like wrangle it, i.e. the amount of practice you do is more important than what modules you use. Like Colin Benders is basically using an ER101 and a circadian rhythms, it's like the core. Yeah, and he fucking kills it. User-friendly music says, why not use a microgrids for space? Tiny knobs. What is microgrids? Oh, is that as in microgrids, a version of grids that is small? I did not know that they make a microgrids. But yeah, I like the knobs on the grids. And yeah, the tip-top one, it's great. Just with my own choices of samples in here. The only thing I would say that sucks about the one is like, I would love to be able to like change the sample, change like the length, like that mainly, and I could just like, you know, have a VCA and like do that sort of thing, but really to like, I'm missing some of the malleability of like synthetic drums, like the fact you can have long decays, because like especially a snare, I think is the one element where to have a snare decay that can just like ring out long and long and long is so nice. Yeah. Jeremy asks, ever consider flashing radio music with chord organ? I have got a chord organ kit that I need to build, and I'm going to try it in the case in place of plats potentially, or use the plats to do something else like this. But yeah, definitely. Oh. I'm not as hot on all of the other modes of plats. There we go. The guy who passed away was Frequency Fodder. I don't know that guy. Frequency. Thinking if I recognise his like avatar. Yeah, I did guest posts for noise engineering. What happened? There's a few kind of like ledges like that sort of gone. Yeah, that's a great shout, Peter. It's like, so I think if what I understand correctly, you're using confundo funkitis, which is like the like logical, like sort of gate combiner, and simple stuff on one side, complex on the other. That is a good shout. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is to the rhythms thing. That's what I've been like trying to think about. Like, how can I give myself? The problem with rhythms is like I do just kind of want specific rhythms at a specific time. Like, you know, if I was Aphex, I would be like, I kind of know what I want to have, but the time it would take to program it is just impractical in the available time, basically. So I don't know, honestly. I need to just sort of keep experimenting. But it's a thing that can only come through playtesting. It can only come through just like actually using it. Currently I'm not even using channel 1 on grids.
Part of your fame stems from the fact that you are a scientist who makes science intelligible.
Rainmaker. Now, actually, remind me, Peter, launch codes was one of the modules I was looking at, and I need to try it for preset rhythms that you can recall. Someone had a go at me on YouTube for not using anything except the 24 pole on the Jove, so this is for that person. Exactly. User-friendly music says your right hand basically never leaves the hex mix. Exactly right. And that's why the hex mix is essential. That's just how you can control everything. Manic Starseed says, regarding rhythm, what happened to switch mults? That is a good question. The answer is that I've been more just trying to find like the root pattern makers that will do what I want. I have thought about that just for having like, but it just depends what you know, you put them in because there's a specific reason. You know, previously I've used, I mean, Stevio's using them as combiners, so he's got like lots of other like various rhythmic elements, and he's using switch mults to combine the outputs of them to create rhythms. But he's doing a lot more complex stuff with that. He's doing real like chain-based chain reactions, and which I think you can't really do with just one. Like you use them as like switchers as part of a network, and there's no space for me to put in a network. So what I've therefore had to focus on is what like singular or what combined elements without much switching can I use, and I just make that the elements that are generating the original rhythms that bit more flexible. Does that make sense? As in that instead of having switch mults and lots of simple sources, I have a couple of complex sources and no switch mults. Yeah, you need a good mixer. Oh well. I really want to have the low pass mode on now. Can't help myself. Peter says, I love the Knight's Gallop for percussion, really easy to manipulate. Yeah, I've actually wanted to check that module out. I kind of looked at it in my sort of travels for like percussion. Do explain if you've got one, please send me your thoughts why. It would be helpful for me to like hear from a user just so I understand, because it's not clear to me. Like it's one of those things like you've just got to get your hands on things sometimes to be like, oh, it clicks, that is what I want. Good night, Music Pixels. Good night, Joshua. I think I probably should call it a night. We're approaching feature length. We've actually approached feature length on this stream. I'm glad that we're able to get this working because we did have some technical problems to start with, thanks to my internet being horrifically slow, I think, because everyone was trying to like watch computer telly in my neighborhood. So thank you for tuning in, guys and gals. and non-binary. And I will slowly wind things down, winding things down.
We still are battling, at least in the United States.
What is actually making that sound? Oh yeah, this.
Humans are separate from the rest of nature. That an unbridgeable gap separates humans from the other plants and animals. That we are the particular beneficiaries of the concern of the creator of the universe more than any of the 10 million other species of plants and animals. When in fact,
Thanks,
all
folks.
of our formative uniqueness turns out to be shared with other animals, especially chimpanzees, our closest relatives with whom we share.
I'm suddenly remembering that I put an invitation for questions for anyone who has questions. And I just wanted to remind myself, because there was a person who said they were not able to tune in. And let's answer that bloody question, shall we, if there was one. There was something. Oh. The question was, I'm mostly interested in more playtime with the new live system with some commentary. I hope you enjoyed that, Andrew. Other than that, my life is mostly about trying to pick between a Strymon Magneto and a Vermona Retroverb Lancet. Any thoughts on that? I have never tried the Retroverb Lancet. I have tried the Magneto. And I guess it comes between the rock and a hard place. Do you love Spring Reverb? I like Spring Reverb a lot. It's really nice. Or do you want like world-ending, earth-shattering, gorgeous tape delay with Space Angels sewn throughout it? In which case, you should buy a Strymon Magneto, because it sounds fucking great. It really does. If you could only get one, I'd probably get the Magneto. I have to say, but I got a Rainmaker.
And the debate is still open. In our ignorance, the geocentrists still find open.
Absorb down, decay up, size up, depth. Go to like the like pitchy side. Bedtime. What are you doing? Go to bed. I know you're probably in America, so it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something. But it's bedtime here, damn it. That means we need to go to bed. So my sweet, 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 sweet little chickadees, I bid you a good adieu. A good adieu. Good adieu. May you do a top sleep. And I will return with some videos, a podcast with Finley Shakespeare which currently is 3 hours long. I might cut it down a bit, but it's really fun. He talks about what it feels like to get electrocuted. And when he got electrocuted, it was from hand to hand, so it crossed his heart. So, yeah, don't do that. Don't allow electricity to cross your heart, because you will hope to die. So, anyway, that's it. Love you. Genuinely, love you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being an awesome patron. And we'll catch you soon.